Jimmy and I are about to tell you why the keys to beating Vanderbilt aren't simply just showing up.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me. Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I'll tell you about FanDuel in just a bit. Thank you, everydayers, for making this your first listen. Thank you, newbies, for making us your second or third listen. We don't care when you listen. We do like it to be the first, but just listen. So, Jimmy, Vanderbilt is coming up on Saturday, and I did have a listener tell me he hates the way I say my days of the week, like Saturday and Sunday and Monday. That's what I do. Okay, so Vandy, I was on a Montgomery radio station today, and they were like, why is this just not going to be super easy? And I said, look, it's just not. I mean, it's not going to be a redo of 2017. It's just not going to happen. I think Alabama expended a lot of emotion in this past week's game, and I think that Vanderbilt is a better team than it was in 2017. All that being said, I think in the end, when I make my prediction, I might predict Alabama to cover.
Yeah, I'm going to predict Alabama to cover. I would just spend time warning people not to expect, like you said, don't expect 2017. I think Vanderbilt's just too good for that this year. I think this is a legit SEC football team of sorts. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys they're Georgia or Tennessee or LSU or anything like that. They're not. But I do think they physically match up with the middle and lower half of the league. Some years they don't physically match up. They can stay in the game through trickeration and good coaching and all the smart kids they got. This is a different Vandy team. This team can physically hold up against a lot of SEC competition. Now, Alabama out-talents them at all 22 spots. There's not a player they have on their team that I would prefer over a starter at Alabama. It's not that way at all. I think two things could keep this game close. And I'll go so far as to say if I had to pick a halftime score right now, I'm going to say 14-10 Alabama at the half. The two things that will keep the game close, a combination of a clear automatic letdown situation for Alabama where they're not showing up with the same intensity they had against Georgia, just this automatic human nature letdown combined with the fact that this Vandy team's pretty legit. I think those two, because look, if this is terrible Vandy, it doesn't matter that Alabama has a letdown. They're just going to out-talent them, and at half-speed autopilot, they're going to crush them. I think this Vandy team's too good for that. I think if Alabama's on autopilot, I expect the game to be kind of close. But I also think this ultimately, and we'll get to the prediction at the end, I don't think Alabama will play like that for 60 minutes. I think they might have stretches where there's still some Georgia hangover, but it'll be for stretches. It won't be for 60 minutes. And when Alabama's firing on all cylinders, Vanderbilt will not be able to keep up. You're going to be on mute while you're wearing the T-shirt? Is that a first? Is it a first?
I thought I hit the unmute button. Anyway, a couple of Bama guys and I were talking about, what do we think about this game? And just like you said, and I said in the last podcast, that we want this to be an opportunity to try and get the running game going a little more. And because maybe then Jam and Justice will know how to get that extra yardage for the first down like they needed to against Georgia a couple of times. I'm not faulting them. I'm saying that is something that isn't necessarily intuitive. That is something that comes with experience for a lot of players. And so I want them to get more opportunities. That being said, I'm beginning to take the position like I did when Bryce Young was at Alabama. I remember there was a game, I can't remember which one it was, but I had an opportunity to go. They weren't going to be great seats, but I was thinking, I can stay at home and then I can do the podcast after and I can just be at my house. And then I told myself, I said, Self, you pray for people like Bryce Young to be at Alabama. And now you have an opportunity to go see him live and you're not going to do it. And so I went and saw him. So the same kind of theory works here for Ryan Williams. We only have Ryan Williams for maximum of 30 some odd games. Let's call it 38 games or something like that. 40 plus or minus.
You mean left?
Left. That's it. I mean, total, like if that means if we go to the national championship every year. And
like 41 games, but that's just off the top of my head. It's still quite a few.
Whatever. 41. I said plus or minus, man.
Well, this is freaking me out. I've never heard it put that way. So I'm like freaked out. I'm like, holy moly, I better go to some practices or something. I don't want to only see.
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so the same theory applies that, yeah, I love Justice and Jam. I'd love for Justice and Jam to get more involved. But at this point, 4 games into his career, I think if the play is throw it up, Ryan's down there somewhere, that's a pretty good play.
I think I had a conversation with an Alabama offensive coordinator one time, not going to name names, but I talked to an Alabama OC, and he said that something he reminds himself all the time is think players, not plays. Think players, not plays. Like, wow, it's crunch time, and so many OCs go, oh, I know what, we practiced this 3 weeks ago. We do this cool thing where we, put this X here and this X here, and then we double down on their O here. No, he says, hey, it's crunch time. I'm going to get it to my dude. It's dudes. Think players, not plays. And that's exactly what you're just saying there. I mean, just throw it to Ryan. Doesn't matter which one of the plays you call.
And again, you pray for moments like this for Ryan Williams is to come to your school. And when they get here, use them all you can.
Yeah.
And he's probably Milroe, okay, but Ryan Williams is at least in the discussion for the best player on the field every time.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I just think you got to make life easier for him by, featuring other players. If the defense is defending everything, you win. You've won.
True.
When the defense has to defend it all, you've won, because that's just impossible. So that's why I want heavy emphasis on the run game these next 2 weeks. Not because I think that's how we're going to beat Tennessee. If we beat Tennessee, it's because Jalen Milroe throws balls to Ryan Williams. But if we make Tennessee worry that about Justice and Jam, in addition to worrying about the Milroe runs and the throws to Ryan and Jeremy Bernard and throws to the tight end, which we probably don't talk about enough, that's been effective largely, is those throws to Dupree and Cuevas. And I want those to continue as well. Again, make the defense have to defend it all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And, when you were talking earlier about things players versus plays, yeah, my argument about that would be, yeah, kind of like when you run a double handback reverse pass right before the half, and if you probably just throw it to Jeremy Bernard, you probably do better. Or if you throw a pass to Kendrick Law, who looks like he's going to throw a pass, then you probably would have been better off just handing it to Justice Haynes. I mean, I don't want to hate on the plays that were called, the trick plays that were called. I don't want to hate on them because I don't mind them.
Work very well against Georgia. I mean, they didn't work. We tried a bunch of them, actually. There's at least 3, if not more, that I would call trick plays. And Nick Sheridan might tell us, and he might be right, like, hey, that specific play didn't work, but because we ran that play, we did something 18 minutes later in the game that paid off because we lined up the same way and we did something different or something. I mean, sometimes those trick plays are used to set something else up, give the defense another look. Again, you're trying to make them defend everything. So it's not just the play itself, but I'm with you. It's not a pet peeve of mine or anything or a soapbox, but I do see people, I have this natural reaction when I see, we need to throw it to Kobe more. We need to throw it to Kendrick Law more. Why don't we throw it to Cole Adams more? I'm a fan of all those guys, and I would love to see that too. But there's a finite amount of plays. And when you throw it to Cole, which is great, guess who you didn't throw it to? That's one less target to Ryan. And in a game that's still in doubt, you need to throw the ball to Ryan Williams, not Cole. That's just football 101 to me.
Yeah, and you do. We also recognize you need to spread it around, keep everybody engaged and happy and all that. Kendrick Law needs some love because his downfield blocking has been absolutely otherworldly, and it sounds like he's going to be fine. DeBoer said that Devontae Smith will probably play this weekend, and that Kendrick Law, it sounded like he was 50-50. My guess is he doesn't.
true 50-50 situation, although based on DeBoer's answer at the SEC teleconference, I wouldn't bet on it.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. So, yeah, we got to get into some player and game predictions here in just a sec. But you know the drill. Got to know about FanDuel. Love me some FanDuel, and you do too, because you use it, because it's easy and it's fun. And if you're an NFL fan, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. When you place your first $5 bet, that's only at FanDuel.com, which, of course, is America's #1 sports book. Jimmy, we need to do a little mea culpa for the podcast. You and I had about a 2-minute rant about the mousetrap.
Yeah, boy, we stuck our foots in the rat trap. Yeah. We got caught in the rat trap with a little error there.
It wasn't even like Deion Sanders' feet. This was all 10 toes.
What used to be 10 toes was rat trap.
By the way, because Mick Saban did do the mousetrap thing last year. But did you see?
I had no memory of. I had no memory of it. And B, I'm surprised. That just doesn't sound like a Nick Saban thing to me. I mean, obvious. But hey, Saban and DeBoer both doing it. They're right, and I'm wrong.
That's right. And somebody reached out to me on Twitter about it. While I was at the doctor's office getting diagnosed with gout for the first time in my life, let me tell you something. Gout sucks. I had no idea. I thought I'd bruised my foot, broken a bone.
I didn't mean to violate your HIPAA rights. I'm just saying, how's your gout going?
It's better now. He shot me up with a bunch of stuff, and I said, "Do whatever you have to do. My foot's dying over here." But did you also?
It's usually a big toe, right?
It was my big toe killing me, Jimmy, killing me. Yeah. But anyway. Did you see the Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp? They were interviewing Deion Sanders, and like those two guys are hilarious, and that's why I came up with the 8 toes thing, because Ocho was like, "Hey man, I need to get Travis Hunter and route him up, teach him how to route. I'll put my cleats on and show him what's up." And then Deion said, "Well, if you do that, I'll put on my cleats and I'll lock him down." Ocho said, "You ain't doing anything with 8 toes." And I'm talking about all 3 of them fell out. Deion was like, "I set you up for that. I'm leaving." He hung up. It's funny. Anyway, so player predictions. Yep. Okay. Does Jalen Milroe get his 2 and 2, meaning 2 passing TDs, 2 rushing TDs? I'm going to go on a limb and say yes. In fact, is it even a limb when he's done it, when he's 4 and 4?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Just because I think this is the week that Justice and Jam get their rushing touchdowns. I think Milroe gets 3 or even 4 passing touchdowns, but in terms of running the ball into the end zone, it's going to be Justice or Jam.
What if he throws a pass to Justice and Jam for a touchdown each, and then he runs for 2? Is that everybody happy?
I'll take as many Milroe throws. I would love to see Jalen Milroe win the Heisman Trophy. I can't tell you how much I would. As much as I love to see the other guys win the Heisman when they did, I would probably be even more emotional about a Milroe win, because those other we coronated Bryce before he was the quarterback, and Devontae Smith made the biggest play in college football history 3 years before he won the Heisman Trophy, and Derrick Henry was the leading rusher in U.S. high school history. Mark Ingram was probably the closest thing, because a little bit of a surprise when we signed Ingram. I don't think anybody was going, "Oh, he'll win the Heisman," but Jalen had to overcome so much within his own fan base. That's why he would be my favorite Heisman winner. So I want Jalen to rack up stats. This is a stat racking up game potentially. So I hope he does. I'm just also hoping that we see Justice and Jam with a little more success running the ball.
I'm with you on that. Okay. Does some other receiver? All right. First of all, let me ask this: does Ryan Williams score again? I'm going to say yes. He's 4 of 4 on scoring in touchdown games too.
I will say yes. I think yes, just simply because he'll catch fewer balls than people think. I think he catches 3 or 4 this weekend. Which isn't a lot for him, as much as he has earned a greater target share than that. but 3 or 4. But the fact of the matter is, if he catches the ball 3 or 4 times versus Vanderbilt, he's probably going to score one of those times.
Okay. Does one of the other receivers not named Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams score? Not including
Let's
Tiny.
go. Let's go. Yes, it's just overdue. A guy like E-Man, overdue. Cole Adams.
Oh, E-Man, boy, he doesn't have a touchdown this year, does he?
He does not, and he deserves one.
Is it me, or did you think if – I'm not saying Milroe threw a bad pass. It's tough to throw against Georgia. But if Milroe had led him a little more on that first long pass, I think he could have scored.
Yeah, ball's a little underthrown. It was a little underthrown. But keep in mind, when I say it's a little underthrown, we Alabama fans hyper criticize quarterbacks. That would have been considered a good throw on Sunday. It was a good throw, and it was completed bomb. It could have been more perfect and then probably a touchdown. But Alabama did score a touchdown. Heck, Milroe himself scored the touchdown.
Well, here's the other thing. I think if that's probably any other team in the conference, with maybe the exception of Tennessee, that is a touchdown. But when you're playing Georgia, you're probably thinking a little bit quicker and letting the ball go a little bit earlier than you want to, or not throwing it quite as far or whatever. Because if you're playing Georgia, I should add Bama in there. Bama and Tennessee, their defenses are so good, you just got to take what you can get usually.
Yeah, I'm a little sore. I'm tired of reading Alabama took their foot off the gas and allowed Georgia to come back. It's okay to say, you know what? Georgia started beating our butt for a while, because guess what? They're freaking good. They're really good. And they're going to have their wins against us because sometimes their good player beats our good player. And I don't think we let Georgia come back. I think they just came back.
Yeah, you're so right. And, again, when I was on the radio today earlier, I talked about that because the host was talking about what Joel Klatt said. Joel Klatt obviously played football and I guess he knows what he's talking about. And he's got a much higher paying job than I do doing this. But he was like, I came away more impressed with Georgia than Alabama. And I'm like, that's just clickbait. And I was like, why not just say, and I know it is clickbait, and so I respect that you're getting clicks. But at the same time, I think it's also fair to say, you know what? Those were two really, really good teams.
Yeah.
And why not just say that was an awesome game? And instead of, boy, Alabama's epic collapse, why not lead with Alabama's unbelievable first half?
I think you just say those two teams are so evenly matched that they could play a 60-minute game and Alabama wins 30-7, and they tee it up 5 days later and Georgia wins 30-7. That's how evenly matched the two teams are. I mean, there's just dudes all over the field. And again, Carson Beck, Milroe beat him again. Milroe's more deserving of a Heisman Trophy, but Carson Beck's a great quarterback, and you're just not going to keep him down for 60 minutes. Alabama did an incredible job on really an incredible quarterback. 2 mutes while you're wearing the shirt.
Oh, my God.
Because of the dog, right? Was the dog?
I got a dog, my Morky Poo in here. And
you can explain to the people why you're trying to.
Barks because she's an idiot.
It would have been apropos last week.
Yeah, I know. Well, as I told you off the air, it's good to finally see some barking come from something that's not human. But anyway, so game predictions. I mean, look, if I'm going to predict Jalen Milroe does his 2-2 thing again, yep, I've got to predict Alabama goes over 40 again. We've gone over 40 every game this year. I'm going to say Bama 45-14.
I really like the score. I came to something really close. I'm going to say 42-10, just to be more detailed. I'm half expecting, won't be surprised if the game is tight, even for 2 quarters, because it's normal football, especially at the college level or high school level, but college level, to have a letdown. That's why they got the rat traps. That's why they did that, because they know that the normal human reaction is to let down. And so I'm going to anticipate a slow start, flat, Bandy coming out fired up. But over the course of 60 minutes, the team with the most good players will win the game, and Alabama's got a lot more good players than Vanderbilt.
I'm going to quote Family Guy here and say, how do you – am I muted?
No. I'm about to lie. I said, feel free. I'm excited about this because I prefer Family Guy to Simpsons, and we quote the hell out of the Simpsons. But I think we need more Family Guy or American Dad quotes.
I'm going to quote Family Guy. I think it was Brian the dog that said this. How do you half expect something? I know. And ever since I've heard that quote on that show, I was like, oh, that's a good point. I need to quit saying that.
I expect it, but I'm not serious.
Well, then you don't expect it.
I expect it to be a good game for a half.
Okay.
Maybe that's it.
Oh, gosh. All right. Whatever. All right. Exciting news for everybody who doesn't already know this. It's almost time, Birmingham. Your new Academy Sports and Outdoor store is opening Monday, October 7th at 4610 US Highway 280. Come be one of the first to see the new store with the best in sports equipment.
Close to your house.
It's very close to my house. And so that's what makes it even awesomer. They got outdoor gear and clothing and sports equipment, shoes, all at low prices. Check out Academy's wide selection of brands like Nike, Stanley, Brooks, Carhartt, Blackstone, Yeti, Titleist, Shimano, and more. Don't miss our grand opening celebration, Friday, October 11th through Sunday, October 13th. And on Friday, October 11th, time to be determined, TBD, Jimmy and I will be there doing a live show, and we want you there. Jimmy has promised to give away something. We don't know what it is. And he didn't promise it. Plus, you can shop all the grand opening deals Thursdays through Sunday. In the meantime, check us out at academy.com with free shipping on purchases over $25. Join the fun at your newest Academy Sports and Outdoor store in Birmingham. And please, please, please come by and visit Jimmy and me in lovely Birmingham, Alabama. It's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to be right before the South Kakalaki game. So y'all come on and we'll be there and we'll talk to you. And maybe we'll get you on air or something like that. All right, so other predictions for the weekend, Jimmy. It's not exactly like a beautiful weekend of college football. It's fun.
By the way, you know what my wife said about us going to Academy? You know what she said when I told her that we were doing this? This is what I have to do. She said, oh, they couldn't get two of those big wavy guys that sit out in front of the highway and and they come here and then the air comes up and she's like, they couldn't afford that, just you two?
Well, no, those guys don't know how to mute themselves. Okay. So other games this weekend, I mean, again, it's not like the prettiest picture of college football. I mean, there's some fine games. College football is always great, and so what that means is we're probably in store for some surprises. Yeah. Now, the first one let's talk about, because I think this it's not sexy in name only, but I think if you're a true SEC fan, I think Missouri A&M is the best SEC game of the day. Now, maybe it's South Carolina Ole Miss, but I'm going to go Missouri A&M because I think A&M's got it together with this new quarterback, and I think Missouri's got to start showing us something offensively to match with the preseason hype. Missouri is a 2.5-point underdog at A&M. I'm going to be rooting for Missouri because I want them to come into Bama, on a high, and then I want to be the ones to beat them. But I could see this going either way.
If Missouri loses this game after going to OT with Vandy and being pushed by Boston College, and then they lose this game at A&M, it's time to reevaluate where we thought Missouri was going to be all summer. So that's how big it is. And if A&M loses, first of all, shout out to Missouri. I will consider it a high-quality win. A&M didn't lose much at home during the Jimbo Fisher. They fired that guy, and they won at home all the way through it. I mean, they're tough to beat in College Station, and I think A&M is going to win this game, in part because they might be a little better than Missouri. But I think playing at home is just too. I think that's too tough of a game based on what we've seen from Missouri so far. I agree with you; it's the best SEC game of the day. I wish it was the 7:00 game, but hey, I'll tune in at 11. It's a nice lead-in to Bama.
I wonder if Texas A&M had started Marcel Reed at quarterback, would they have beaten Notre Dame at this point?
In retrospect, that's easy to say. I was a Connor Wigman fan, still am. I'm not writing that kid off at all. I just think Marcel Reed might be special. He's a QB country product, by the way.
Yeah, I knew that. So then, okay, you talk about teams that need to be reevaluated. I think Ole Miss might be on the list. Here they go against South Carolina. Yeah. They're a 9-point favorite on the road. I could easily see Ole Miss winning this. I'm going to go ahead and predict South Carolina wins it.
I got South Carolina winning the game too, Luke. And let me tell you, if they do, hey, this is a game. No, I'm big. I remember everything all spring and summer because we talk on this show all spring and all summer. And that's why I like talking about the other teams, because I want to remember stuff like this. And let me tell you, no one this spring and summer was saying Ole Miss was going to go to Columbia, South Carolina and lose. No one said that. Now half the people are saying that. If Ole Miss loses this game, and I've got them losing, then I will have kind of an epic rant Sunday or Monday about over-reliance on the transfer portal and signing mercenaries instead of program guys, and the mistake fans make when they just want to be the team with the highest bid for a player. Now, and again, hey, I'm eating these words if Ole Miss wins the game and makes the playoff. I'll go back and eat the words. I'm just saying Ole Miss all of a sudden has signs to me, Luke. 2021 A&M, 2024 Florida State. You over-rely on the portal, you could come up with a bad poker hand.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I feel like, boy, it's going to be a shame too, because I think it's probably better for Alabama if Ole Miss wins. I'm not sure, though. I don't know.
Boy, if South Carolina it makes Alabama, South Carolina pretty big.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. We're going to need a break from the big games in that 3-game stretch with South Carolina at home, at Tennessee, Missouri at home.
I know. I agree. And I don't know who's going to win that game. I never said all summer that South Carolina could win this game. I certainly never thought Kentucky. I think South Carolina's got a better chance to beat Ole Miss than Kentucky did last week, and Kentucky won. South Carolina's got more dudes to me. And look what South Carolina did to Kentucky. And good luck, Ole Miss, blocking those rush ins at South Carolina. Those guys are every bit the challenge you will find in the SEC, including Georgia, including Alabama, including Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's got James Pierce. He's tough. South Carolina's got 2 James Pierces.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Auburn and Georgia. I mean, look, I know it's a Bama show, and I know people are going to expect me to say this. I really think Georgia's going to run roughshod over Auburn. I think they are going to pull out all the stops.
They're going to win by 1 million. But I think the last couple of times I said Texas over Mississippi State by 1 million. Instead, they won by, like 16 or something. I mean,
yeah.
So I was, and that game
backup quarterback not coming off a loss.
Yeah. I'll stick with Georgia by 1 million because Auburn catching them at a really bad time, and we know who's got the most dudes in this game. Tennessee at Arkansas.
I mean, that line is suspiciously low to me at 14. I mean, I wonder why.
I think Tennessee wins big, but I'm interested because Taylor Green's going to make plays. If Alabama played Arkansas, and we don't, I will be telling people all week long, Alabama's going to win the game, but that kid's going to make some plays on us. He's going to make plays and look like the best athlete on the field in that play. He's Matt Jones. I don't know that he can do it for 60 minutes and keep Arkansas in the game. I don't know that, but I know it. He will make plays against anyone. Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, maybe at home with Taylor Green having his magical game that he's probably due at some point. Maybe, but yeah, if I'm gambling, I'm taking Tennessee and the points.
And then 3 games really quickly. Iowa, Ohio State. I mean, that's probably – you're walking into a lion's den probably. And then Michigan at Washington. And
I like this.
Maybe I just totally forgot because it hadn't really sunk in. Like somebody was like, yeah, rematch of last year's national championship. And I was like, yeah, it was. Because it still feels like it should have been Bama, Texas.
Strangest national championship rematch of all time with such little interest. I like Michigan to win. I think Michigan's been the better team than why. And I agree that both have question marks, but Michigan has been better in 2024 than Washington has.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then Clemson at Florida State. I mean, I think this is Florida State's last chance to see if they have any fire left in the belly. And my guess is they don't, and that Clemson just pounds them.
Yeah, Florida State doesn't turn it around this weekend, it's over.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back after the game on Saturday. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.